So thanks, Russell, for inviting us into your Bayside home, which is sort of en route to your old stomping ground of Frankston.
Yeah, it's not far from Frankston. It's a little bit different than North Frankston. But I had a great time growing up. Mum and Dad were fantastic parents, and my brothers and sisters, we all got on really, really well and didn't want for anything. And we played footy in winter and we played cricket in summer.
You must have been handy as a junior to be picked up by St Kilda at a very young age.
Yeah, 1974 was my first game. Played on a bloke called Renato Serafini. He was a fantastic player. And it was just great fun to be able to do that. So I would play Wednesday school footy and then play senior footy for St Kilda on a Saturday. But no one really cared. I mean, that's just the way it was. You did your schooling and you participated in the sporting program there, and then on a Saturday you pack your bag and catch a train or get a lift. Gary Colling was a fantastic St Kilda player. He used to pick me up, taught me how to drive a Volkswagen, to drive a manual in one of his Volkswagens, kangarooing all over the place. So yeah, it was very entertaining.
Who was your first senior coach?
Alan Jeans for 74, 75 and 76, and then Ross Smith took over in 77, and then Mike Patterson took over in 78, and then Jezza took over not halfway through, about 4 weeks into 1980, so I had a fair spread of coaches.
Alan Jeans, tell us about Alan Jeans and tell us about the influence he had on your life and your football career.
An absolutely beautiful person. Can be very, very hard at times, but most of the time, I think he would have been the VFL-AFL's first psychologist, because he really knew how to switch your buttons. Say a bloke like Dipper, there's one situation where he got a little bit physical with Dipper and slammed him up against the wall, and because Yabby, being a past policeman, knew all the holds but got the best out of Dipper. Dipper went on and played 5 premierships, Brownlow medalists, All-Australian numerous times, but was struggling prior to Yabby coming on board. And for me, he would just have to say a couple of words. Actually, the very first time we sat down, as him being the senior coach of the Hawthorn Football Club, he said, "Greene, I've been to 8 people who I respect at this club. They all sat down and picked their best team. How do you think it went this year?" Because I played for 14 games for them. I said, "Oh yeah, not too bad, yep, not too bad." He said, "I'll put it to you this way, son. Out of the 8, only 1 had you in their team, and that was on the interchange bench." So I'm going, okay. So he switched on a few switches, and I realised I had to, because to get a game with Hawthorn, and particularly later on when blokes like Dermott, Mew, Dunstall, Buckenara, Platten, I mean Langford, the list goes on and on and on. You really had to pull your head in, really had to dedicate yourself. You had to make, as Yabby used to say, self-imposed discipline is the best form of discipline. So, and fortunately I just got married and things were starting to, I realised that I just couldn't go out and have fun all the time. You really had to dedicate yourself to the cause.
Did you ever feel guilty as a result of something you'd done in relation to Alan Jeans?
Well, the 84 grand final, that was, I still have nightmares about it. Leon Baker went one way, I went the other way. And he kicked a goal and started an avalanche of about another 8. So I'm not sure whether I apologised to him, but in footy you've got to learn from your mistakes. And if I had followed what he had told me to do, who knows what would have happened. Maybe they still would have won, but if I had done, yeah. So I really felt as though I let him down on that occasion.
So after that second grand final loss, what did he say to you guys? How did he get you back for the 86 season?
We were all shell-shocked. It was 78 points against the Bombers and they were just rampant. It was 78 points, they thumped us by. And I can remember him, we're all just sitting around on the ground, and he cracked a tin and he said, "I can promise you this, the sun comes up tomorrow." And there's not many of those type of cliches or one-liners that because of all the times that he coached me, but I remember that one. The sun comes up tomorrow. We're all going, oh, yeah, just been whacked. that we lost 2 in a row. But it resonated amongst the group, and we were just so determined that it wasn't going to happen again.
By that stage, you had some big characters, even a young Dermot Brereton. What was the young Dermot Brereton like?
We would meet down here at Trevor Barker Oval, and then we'd run all the ramps, which were pretty hard work. You run down, you sprint up, run along, sprint up. And Dermot, we're coming up the ramps, and he's 17. And at that stage, I must have been 24 or something like that, a few pre-seasons. And he's running backwards. Come on, you blokes, come on. We're too knackered to say anything. But he was like a kid, so that's how he got his nickname.
Did you sense he was going to be a champ?
Well, he had a lot of, I would say, outward confidence. So, yeah, he was... But just watching him in, like, match simulations and that type of stuff. He had a fantastic vertical leap, could really mark the ball well. But the thing was, he was fearless. And I know he won't mind me saying this, but he could be nasty too.
So a couple of other stalwarts of the side, Chris Langford, Chris Mew, what qualities did they have?
Chris Mew's nickname's Ted. Did you know that? Okay. Now the reason why his nickname is Ted is because every game that I ever played with him, Chris would walk in, and right next to him, his dad, Ted. So Ted would walk over to his locker, put the bag down, shake hands, son, give him a hug, and off he go. So Ted Mew. Chris Langford, an absolute, both of them superstars. In my side, they maybe picked second or third in any side that I would pick.
We've talked about all these wonderful players. What about Lee Matthews, the greatest player?
He was just completely fearless. I think when he finished playing after 85, he went and had surgery on his teeth, because he never wore a mouth guard. I think there was something like 14 breaks, but he would never, ever complain. Tony Morwood from South Melbourne, I don't think they were the Swans then. Lee, I think, missed 2 games because he just got whacked so hard that his face blew up, blood vessels went all over. But never, ever squealed. You watch him on TV and he'll mention a certain thing, and you go, yeah, he's right. And it only takes 5 or 10 seconds, and he's right. Other people who I hear, they talk for about 15 minutes, and you go, what's going on here?
You sound like you have a deep affection for those teammates. It must have been a fantastic time to be part of the Hawthorn Footy Club.
I just wanted to get as much out of, not just on the footy side of things, but we would love to make sure people feel comfortable, people enjoy our company, not forced upon them, and we had an absolutely fantastic group of friends. We still do. We still try and catch up. I remember Dipper, the old place here before we renovated. We're going to have the Dippers and the Robbos over, and maybe the Russos, I'm not quite sure. And Cheryl rang, this is Robert's wife, and she said, do you mind if Dino comes? We thought Dino was the dog. We said, yeah, you can bring the dog along, but it was Dipper's brother. So we have a laugh about that. But no, it was great times. We still see each other as regularly as we can, and particularly Roxy's got a core group of girlfriends who catch up once every couple of months. I'll go over to that side or come over here. And so it was very important for us, because you like to leave your legacy at the club, and we absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a sad day when the big fella rang me up and just said, it's all over, mate. So that was another story. But we just loved it. It was fantastic. It
was all over, but it was all over after 300 games. It's a lot of games, included an AFL Players Association MVP, a best and fairest. It's a tremendous career.
Well, actually, the MVP, my daughter Angie comes each year with me. We get invited, and we were sitting on a table of past players, at blokes from Richmond, Collingwood, and one of the blokes actually said, Murray Brown, his name was, who played for Collingwood. His son's now at Essendon. He said, "You're not a delegate, Greene. Why do you come to this?" I said, "Well, I actually won it in 1984." So I mean, he wouldn't have known anyway. So, but yeah, 84 was a good year. Any year at Hawthorn was fantastic. But the greatest reward for me as a player, I was voted best teammate a couple of times. So that was the thing that I really treasure.
You said at the end of your career, Russell, I would give back all 300 games and all the premierships if I could just play one more game.
After I finished, I found it really hard. And I suppose that in context would be probably from that period where I was really struggling to, footy was my whole life. You know, we all worked, but footy was just something. And all of a sudden, and I was gone. The right decision was made. I was physically disadvantaged. I wouldn't be able to run properly. But I still have dreams about getting called back to play in stupid type stuff. But in context, I really did mean that, because it was just such a big part of my and Roxy's life. Every game that I played for Hawthorn, Friday night was like Christmas Eve, and Saturday was like Christmas Day. And then to have that ripped away was difficult. But I knew it was all over because I couldn't twist, I couldn't turn.
It's a great blessing to be able to live in the moment. Have you been able to replace that sense of joy?
I've got 2 fantastic grandchildren. Our kids, Stephen, he's in business. Brent's doing his doctorate or PhD in his field. Our daughter has started up a company called Stand Up Events, and that's for gay, lesbian, transgender people, which is working very... Yeah, I get thrills all the time from my kids and my grandchildren. But that rush of adrenaline, it's hard to replicate. Your family life is your most important thing. Nothing comes close. But the physicality, the emotion of going out and performing, holding your spot, and playing with some of the all-time superstars is just, you can't replace that type of feeling.
So of the 3 kids, Stephen's the eldest. When did he start to show some footy ability?
In footy terms, as soon as he could pick up a footy, he'd kick it. And it was just absolutely his whole life. All he wanted to do was to play for the Hawks. He played 42 senior games. He did everything to prolong his career, but just the system in it for 5 years didn't get a foothold, and he was. But we had a Hawthorn function just recently, and Shane Crawford was involved, and I wanted to speak about my kids, but you only got 5 or 7 minutes. And in the speech, I just said, look, all Steve wanted to do was play footy with Shane Crawford, and he did that nearly 50 times.
So what drew Angie into her field of work?
She's had 3 close friends, males, between 18 and 20 odd, who have committed suicide. Her brother Brent is gay, and she grew up with Brent. Really, look, Mum and I, we kind of thought, yeah, maybe, but she went through hell with him to try and help him, and he came out the other end absolutely fantastic. He's a beautiful young man. So with that type of situation, home life and very, very close friends, because she's one of her studying psychology. They had to study suicide, and young gay males are very prone to pro rata committing suicide. So she is hell bent on trying to change the world, and Mum and Dad are supremely supportive. I'm very proud of her to do something such as that. Her goal is to make this world a better place, because there's no one worse than, you know, a bloke who's 60s, you know, growing up late 50s, early 50s, late 50s, early 60s, 1960. And we just, it was just, you're a faggot, you're porf, you're homo and stuff. And there was no real thought about it. You didn't realise how many people you were hurting. I mean, fortunately, you know, once we start having kids, you mature. You like to think you mature a bit, and yeah. So I'm right onto it at school. You know, kids go, "Hey, that's gay," and then you explain to them, you know, do you know what gay is, and do you realise that there could be gay people and you're hurting their feelings, that type of thing. So that's what she's on about, and if she can help people, the more we can get it out there, the better. And what we need is not wood ducks like me, who was 14, 15-year-olds, because my mates were saying it, I'm saying it as well. And the damage we must have done to some young boy, girl, transgender, it would have been shocking. And that's one of my biggest regrets.